Good morning, everyone. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I am Texas Homer. This is Ian Boyd. This is the Wednesday morning show where we cover schematics. We are going to start with the new emphasis on the power run game that we're going to utilize because of some new personnel on the offensive line and running back and even quarterback. And then we are going to go into how the offensive playbook seems to have the full menu with our new personnel as well. And then an emphasis on the dime package as well that we had success with. So a lot of scheme-heavy stuff today. We are going to start with power run game versus our emphasis on outside zone. Ian, first off, what did we do last year predominantly? And then what is a power run game? What does that even mean in comparison?
I'm not sure where to start. Last year was much more heavily an outside zone team.
Mhm.
They leaned into it pretty early in the year. We kind of knew that was coming because Hayden Connor and Jake Majors are probably at their best in outside zone, and everybody else is good or adequate at it. And the Hayden Connor Jake Majors combo on the left middle side is not great for predominantly inside zone, power, counter, things like that, where you need to push people backwards. Outside zone, you're beating them to a spot laterally. And that leverage is what allows you to get push. Inside zone power, you actually have to get under somebody's pads and drive them. And whether it was strength, lack of natural explosiveness, or Hayden Connor being 6'6", they just was never great at that, right? They weren't great at it against Georgia either, because they couldn't beat Georgia to spots, and then they would get those Georgia guys to get under their pads and drive them back, and it was terrible. But outside zone was the main deal. Fluctuated throughout the year. In the bye week, they doubled down on it, which paid off when they ran over Texas A&M and Clemson with it. But then again, when they played a better defense in Arizona State, it just kind of the well went dry again. So it was good for establishing a high floor, and it did not work for establishing a ceiling.
Yeah, it didn't scale.
It didn't scale, yeah. Next year, they're going to transition to gap schemes, which means power. Now, when people say power run game on television, you hear power run game all the time. And it usually when people on TV say power run game, they mean one of two things. Usually. They mean you got a lead blocker at the point of attack, fullback or somebody, or B, your running back has a tendency to get low and run somebody over.
They're taking power as the abstract term of it looks powerful.
The impact that they can see at the point of attack. Do you run people over or do you run around them? If you run people over, you're a power run game.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about here at all.
Right.
Not even a little bit. Totally irrelevant. Whether you run around somebody, run through them, do a spin move is entirely irrelevant to what me and Connor are talking about, which is specifically the style of blocking that Texas is going to use next year.
So at its core, when I think of any power run game, we're getting numbers to the play side. So we're trying to outnumber the defense by pulling someone around, and that's how we're going to get the advantage in the box. So the only one where I could see duo, you're still technically getting numbers. It's just you're not getting a pull always. So, but that's kind of what I think of in difference to a zone run scheme where there will be often a halfback running along the line, but he's not running to the play side. He's running to seal a backside edge. So generally, whenever you see offensive linemen or players pulling and running out and the running back is following them, that's a quick hack for what we're talking about in the power run game. Is that fair enough, Ian?
Yeah, and maybe also at the point of attack, down, the line blocks down one way, and then you have additional people blocking the other way to create a hole in the defense, and then you're leading through the hole. So this is 11 personnel, single back power. The tight end is either, if the defensive end is outside of him, he tries to keep him outside and seal him there. If the defensive end gets inside of the Y, the tight end, then he tries to seal him inside. The guard pulls around, and he's trying to find the linebacker or the first person that gets in the way of the running back making a positive play.
Yep.
If he comes around and the tight end is sealed the end, the guard goes inside for the linebacker. If the tight end is right on the hip of the left tackle and there's nowhere to get inside of him, the guard has to be able to adjust his route and get outside and find somebody outside. And then the running back follows the blocker. Unless if it's a really gifted running back at this, maybe he sees a lane open up on the backside because the defense is overreacting to the puller.
Yeah.
And he could take it there for a nice gain. Or he sees a gaping hole to run through. But in general, he's following his lead blocker.
And down blocks traditionally are easier, right? So if we look at it kind of from a wide point of view, a zone scheme is things are moving and changing. You have to be highly adaptable. A gap scheme is, hey, is he in my gap away from the play side? I'm blocking down. It can be much more clear of a plan of attack. It gives the leverage to the offensive lineman usually, which is nice. That gives them an edge. So you have a clarity of focus and a leverage advantage. Then you just at that point need to be more powerful. So it's a more clear run scheme to me. I prefer power runs. Now, so Ian, we just see that he would be following this backside guard that's pulled. What happens if that doesn't work, right? Are we just running to one gap here, and if it gets stuffed, we're in trouble? Or are there variations? Can you cut backside? Could you go around the tight end? Are you just picking one gap here, and if it doesn't work, you're screwed? Or can you bounce?
Depends on the running back, basically. I have said this till I'm blue in the face. People don't normally react. You kind of want a speedier guy in power run schemes, and then you just want the big downhill plant and go guy for outside zone. Everybody thinks with outside zone you want the fast guy because you're running outside, and power you want the big guy because you're running inside.
And the word's called power.
And the word's called power, and it's smash mouth football, and it's power run game, and you run people over.
Yeah.
And this play gets better with the more lateral agility and vision and speed the running back has to be able to do what you're talking about and adjust to hit a cutback lane, to cut all the way back across the green down to the bottom, to win outside if they spill everything outside and still beat like that money sign strong safety to the corner if he has to. Ricky Williams is really good in this stuff, but Ricky Williams is really good at it because not only was he huge, but he was quick and agile. And he would threaten the outside and threaten to bounce outside all day long and then cut back inside and run people over. But it was his ability to get out to the edge that set that up. Outside zone, you're just running against the wash through arm tackles. Yeah. So you don't have to be anywhere near as like nifty necessarily. If you are, great. But if you're just making a good read and then just making a strong cut, that's it. So that's why outside zone is, when it's run well, it's made legends out of so many guys that people didn't think were going to be legends at running back.
So we're going to power. The reason why we would emphasize that more than outside zone would be for personnel on the interior of the offensive line, but also our running backs, Baxter, Gibson. Maybe you can do some read stuff with Arch Manning. But Gibson and Baxter aren't super quick, nifty guys. So is this a mismatch with your view on it?
I think Gibson and Baxter would be natural outside zone guys. I think
because they're bigger, stronger runners.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense for them. Gibson in particular, we'll talk about him in a minute, I think. Actually, go ahead and pull up his power run, if you would, from the article. It's like the second to last one or something.
Yeah, those are duos. Power O blocking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on this one, you're going to see exactly what I diagrammed above. They're running power to the tight end side. It's Spencer Shannon at tight end, and it's late in the game, so it's actually Neto Umeozulu at left guard who pulls. And Neto he gets there and he sees that the tight end did not kick out the end. He took him inside.
Right here.
Yeah. So Neto has to see that.
Go around,
find somebody, and make as good a contact as he can to create an opportunity for Gibson to find a lane.
And Gibson does find the lane because how I was first looking, you'd see that Gibson might try to bounce.
Yeah. Gibson is not really as much of a bouncer, but he sees the down blocks, and he's on most of his runs. If he can, Gibson is cutting inside at the first opportunity and then just keeping his legs going and driving the pile for as long as he can. Which is, I like that. That's fine. So it ends up being like a 9-yard run, even though he runs into contact at let's see where he actually runs into contact.
Right there. So he picks up like an extra 4 there.
He got like to 5 yards before anybody really got to him because they were getting so much push.
Right there, he gets contacted.
But he's falling forward because his shoulders are down and he's square to the line. You're not hitting him if you hit him when he's sideways, he looks 5'9", 205. If you hit him when he's square, you think he's like 5'10", 240, you know?
You want to look at the counter?
Sure.
Okay.
This time it's the guard who kicks out the defensive end.
Yeah, so they're going to be, the backside guard is going to be right here. He's going to pull around, and then their tight end is also going to pull.
And the tight end is the one who has to see what's happening and block the most dangerous guy instead of the guard. That's the difference between counter and power. So he just follows the blocks, gets low.
Yeah, the tricky part with this too is like you can tell it's 2nd and 10, but Gibson is down. Like once he anticipates contact, he's going to go into baby rhino mode. I think the lesson you're going to have to tell Gibson too is like, hey, stay up. You know, you don't have to go into dive mode, stuff like that. You can probably kick up more yards. So I think that like right here, let's see. He pulls, stays up, but then maybe he trips.
Yeah, I think he just tripped.
So he trips. So it's like that falling forward. But if you look, whenever he starts to lose balance here, he's still going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. That matters.
That was Cedric Benson's secret.
Yeah, like that stuff adds up all game, dude. Question. Hey guys, why if we have this big O-line, why would we run zone blocking? That's crazy to me.
So there's a couple things there. Outside zone and inside zone are pretty different if you major in either as a philosophy. Inside zone being big is potentially helpful. Like teams that want to run primarily inside zone sometimes load up on big offensive linemen. Outside zone, sometimes you want even shorter and lighter, quicker guys that can get outside better. Hayden Connor was actually a lighter, quicker, on his feet sort of guy, even though he was 6'6", 315 or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like a short-armed offensive tackle, basically, playing guard. And he was at his best with a little bit of space and on the move. He was a decent puller too. But size is not actually necessarily good for driving people off the ball because you don't have leverage. If the defensive tackle is 6'2", 305, and he's a better athlete than you.
6'2", 305, and they're naturally going to be lower in their stance.
or they're naturally lower, and they get under your pads, you can be pretty big and they're not going to move. Your ideal power run game guys are actually more like remember I think it was Dalvin Warmack for Alabama, who had like his jersey was always hiked up to here, and he had a big old belly, and he was like 6'3", 340 or something, and he was just a monster. And he was so wide, and he would get under people and just take them on a ride. That's like your ideal power guard. Or some of the Steelers had a few guys that were like that. I guess Larry Allen was like that. Larry Allen was huge, but he was just extremely naturally powerful. So the big offensive line leading to a smashing run game is a little bit of a misnomer. The size for an offensive line is actually probably more helpful in pass protection than it is in the run game.
So why do you take these big offensive linemen? Because the NFL want them?
I think because Kyle Flood primarily wants to be an inside zone pass protection team. And on inside zone, you don't have to you drive you're not driving guys off the ball as much in his version of inside zone. It's a little more lateral, like outside zone. So you're just kind of screening, and then your size just makes you into an obstacle.
Yeah, you're covering guys up.
You hit a spot, you cover a guy up, and then you make it really hard for them to get around you to get to the running back. And then you have like one double team at the point of attack. And when you have a double team, it's easier to drive someone backwards, whether or not you are particularly powerful or low to the ground or not. The double team does literally the heavy lifting for you. So, yeah, Flood is again, it's a bit of a misnomer. It's kind of like the big backs for outside zone, speed for power. It's actually it's not about having big guys to drive people off the ball. It's about having big obstacles that are hard to get around.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
All right, guys, before we keep going, let's hear from Academy.
Days like this, the anticipation's half the fun. The call to adventure. Possibilities in every direction.
Look at that.
The stories you'll bring back. Even the true ones. And already, you can't wait until next time. From first catch to biggest catch of the season, this is where it starts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
The weather's finally getting there, guys. Able to actually go on some nice walks. All right. What do you like this change?
Yeah, for a bunch of reasons. One of them that we've talked about is that I think it's really hard to be great at outside zone if you don't major in it all the time. And even though Texas leaned more on it last year, they didn't. It's better when you run it from the pistol and under center. And Texas didn't do that all the time. And it's better if you're running it like Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, I can't remember who, has a rule that's like 50% of our play calls are wide zone or something crazy like that. Yeah. It's like, this is what we do. This is the cornerstone. Texas was never going to commit that much to wide zone, outside zone. They still had counter, trap, power, duo, inside zone, sweep, all this other stuff in the playbook. And so they were never going to be as committed to it as you would need to be like able to be able to block it against like Georgia.
So are we going to do enough power to be able to block versus Georgia? Is the problem our breadth or is the problem our core scheme?
I think it's partly that we had too much breadth to be great at outside zone last year. And then I think this suits the new look offensive line better than outside zone.
Okay.
I think Neto, Hudson, Campbell, Robertson, They could probably be solid at outside zone again, but they can be better at some of these schemes than they could when it was Hayden Connor and Jake Majors and a year younger DJ Campbell. So if you can be better with something else and then have more breadth and not be as pigeonholed, I think it's just a win-win on levels.
Are our running backs better suited to this? So, like, I know Baxter was a gap scheme runner in high school. I don't know about. I'd have to go back and look at.
Yeah, Baxter was for sure.
So it's like, is this more natural mentally for our guys as well? Are they more comfortable in this world of not having a million reads in a zone run scheme?
I guess. I mean, I think honestly, I think if Baxter and Gibson couldn't be good in outside zone, then it was either because the shotgun angles weren't good because they're too slow, because it takes some real quickness to be really good at outside zone in the gun. So either it's that they're too slow to make it work, or they're just not very good at. They just don't have very good vision.
Who was hitting us with the outside zone?
Outside zone is very friendly to the running back.
Who was it Georgia that was hitting us with the pistol outside zone? One of the teams we were playing, and you constantly were commenting like we should be doing that. I can't remember who it was though. I can't remember.
Boy, that was hitting Texas with outside zone
from the pistol.
Oh, I mean, ULM did that. I don't think it was.
It was not. It was definitely not ULM.
I don't think it was working that great.
I did like their running back though, Ahmad Hardy. So what?
You know why you like him? You know why you like him? Because they run outside zone from the pistol.
Yeah.
So it makes him look good.
Oh, he's a good running back too, man. Like as soon as we saw him, I was like, he's going to be gone from ULM in like 4 seconds, and he was.
Okay,
but where did he end up? Did he end up at Mizzou? He ended up somewhere.
Maybe, but Mizzou runs that too. If you're like 240 and good at running low, and you're in a pistol outside zone scheme, then you're going to have opportunities to go run over a 185-pound safety and look awesome. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily that great.
But Ahmad Hardy's a good back. I'm saying beyond that, go watch him, dude. He's a good back.
I bet you what I'll see is 1, 2, 3 decision plant go. I'm 230 pounds. You guys are all moving sideways. You can't tackle me.
He's got good quickness to him. I think he has good agility. That's why he went to, I think the SEC pretty quick.
Okay.
From ULM. So what were we running when Foreman ran for 2,500 yards in 11 games?
Mostly like Herman style inside zone and maybe some power counter as well. It was very similar to Herman's run game, only the receivers were split way out running pass routes with Shane Buechele throwing the quick hitch or the bubble screen or the quick stick route if you didn't cover it. And so Foreman was running on like light boxes into wide open spaces. And he was usually running behind they had like Patrick Vahi at left guard, Connor Williams at left tackle, and Connor Williams was caving in the side almost every play. And then they converted Caleb Blewett into like just a bludgeon tight end, and he was really good at it. And so the edge was just always getting caved in. And then the guy that was supposed to come and fill the edge wasn't there because of the RPOs.
Okay.
Deontay Foreman was good, but again, it was not so much Deontay Foreman. No disrespect, but.
So do you think it's better to have a go-to scheme to fall back on or be a jack of all trades, master of none type offense?
Well, Sark always says the more things we're good at, the more things
harder you are to defend.
Therefore, honestly, I think his deal is Sark likes having a lot of schemes, and I think it's like came to me in a dream or something. I think the reason he likes having so many run schemes is it's that many more play action schemes that he can draw up to spring a guy free down the field and hit him with a pass. So Sark is always paying lip service to physicality and run game, but his offense at the end of the day is always about taking shots and scoring.
Yeah, it's the run game as a jab just to set up the deep shot.
Yeah, which is, I think, I like that. I respect that.
So think of the run game as investing into the play action game. Mike Crouch says not having a quarterback who could threaten the D deep harms the running game.
Yes. True.
Yeah.
Over at americaswargame.substack.com, I've been theorizing about the creation of a Art Briles style of offense. That it's just the goal is just to take deep shots as often as possible, but to do it from heavy personnel with only one wide receiver removed from the formation.
Okay.
So it's like all running.
So like a real split end, like we're going back in time when they.
Yes.
Yeah.
But instead of it being like we're going to put a guy out there and we're going to throw it to him like 3 or 4 times a game, or like if we hit 2nd and 1, it's going to be we are throwing to that guy every single freaking chance you give us to go one-on-one. And him and our quarterback are going to be spending all off season on choice routes. And then only when you respect that will we make use of all these tight ends and bludgeon the light box.
So the chat is keying in on this. I think this is good instincts from them. But we want to be great and not just good at many things.
We want to be great at taking shots.
I was going to say, so this is kind of what Ian's saying is that like by not being quote unquote great at a singular run concept and having 7 run concepts, it doesn't make us great in the run game, but it makes us great in hitting that deep shot that's a play action off of 7 different run schemes. And if you have Arch who can hit it and wide receivers that can catch it, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit about the full offensive playbook, then you start seeing Sarkisian's offenses from Bama that we haven't seen at Texas. So, of course, you ideally you would want to be great at the run game and hit your shots, but we're apparently in this weird dichotomy where you have to pick one right now. But I still, me personally, man, I would just like to have 3 really strong schemes, and so it's like, hey, let's keep outside zone in, let's do something power, and then whatever else.
I think the trade-offs are for us. The trade-offs are often more like tight end, because the more run schemes you want to carry and do really well, the better a blocker your tight end has to be, and the more blocks he has to be good at throwing.
And that's been a limiting factor.
Yeah, I think we'd like even if we could do that, we just we want our tight end to do other things, like release on the field and catch the ball.
Right.
And again, I kind of like that. So
we can talk about tight end here. I think these are going to be duo plays.
Yeah.
Okay, so watch up at the top in the Gravedigger. It's Juan Davis. He's a crucial block here on the duo run scheme. And he kind of lays it. I mean, he gets in his way.
That's fine.
The goal was achieved. It wasn't aesthetically beautiful, but we got it done.
He did pretty good. The Helm did a pit play.
Let me see. I wasn't
Helm got to his guy too. This is a lot easier than playing UTSA. UTSA had like 2 good defenders, and
yeah. See, there's good initial quickness here, though. He's in the pistol.
From
90-yard head start, but yeah, I thought he was good here. I like he gets to the line of scrimmage good, but also, like we said, he's getting a full running start.
It's a Kyle Porter type run, in my opinion.
This is another
same thing, duo. Another pretty good block on the edge by Juan Davis.
Yeah, it is. And he stays locked up in it long enough to not let number 9 disengage and go straight to Gibson. But see, this is also important here with Gibson, right? He gets hit in the knee or whatever right here. Okay, so this is where he's at. Let's see when he finally goes down. Like, that's very important. And Gibson is doing that consistently. So that's going to be big.
But to do that consistently, it's not even up to him, because he's square to the line of scrimmage on those plays, and
Yeah.
you only get to run downhill square through the line of scrimmage if the hole is there. If the hole is not there and you have to go lateral, you can't be Baby Rhino. You turn into, the gazelle in the savannah, and you get hunted.
Yeah.
So,
any other final things on the old run game?
I still suspect that Texas has like 3 solid guys for this, and nobody's great. I think maybe Baxter had a little more of the outside cut, like Ricky that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But he struggled a little bit with staying low, which comes really easy to Jared Gibson. And then I think because he has trouble staying low, he keeps getting injured. So hopefully he's back and he's putting it all together. But it's hard. I feel like so much of what he needs to learn is going to come through repetition and not staring at it on a chalkboard or a film.
Yeah.
Because it's like style and movement based. Well, see, I think everyone's rooting for Baxter. He just seems like such a stand-up dude with talent that's worked really hard. Everybody wants to see him be great. I think Gibson, if he is, that'd be awesome. I think Gibson is a lock to be effective in this.
What about Trey?
I don't think he'll be great, but I think he'll be effective. Trey, probably the same thing, especially if he can gain weight and not have to run the ball 25 times a game. I think he'll be fine in this too. I don't think either of them will be Najee Harris.
So why are we doing this if you feel like we're getting like whatever results and it's not a pure match for personnel?
Well, I think it matches the offensive line really well.
Okay.
I don't think we have a single running back that's going to be like, oh, I'm so glad we're doing it on behalf of this running back. I think the running backs the running backs that we have are the sort that are always going to be either benefactors or victims of everything else around them.
Yeah, the running backs are downstream.
It's not like Bijan or Brooks, man, probably even Roshan, were a little bit different.
Well, because they would lead the country in missed tackles forced, which means that the offensive line wasn't doing that great, but they were just able to like dance in the backfield and do great things. So their success wasn't even necessarily greatly tied to offensive line performance.
If you did something that was like, we're going to do this and this for Bijan's sake, it's like, yep, do whatever you need to do to make Bijan the best player on the field. If these running backs are the best guys on the field, then something that your eyes are deceiving you.
Ian, I must admit that I'm frustrated that teams with way less talent have had a better run game than Texas, who is loaded with blue chips.
Understandable. I am frustrated that Texas has had 2 NFL wide receivers in the starting, at least 2 NFL receivers in the starting lineup for the last 2 years, and averaged like south of 9 yards per pass attempt. Because Texas isn't trying to build the best running game in the country. They're trying to build the best take your head off with the deep passing game team in the country. And they have decidedly not done that. And that, I think, is frustrating. I don't really care about that. I get frustrated that they're not good in short yardage and red zone where you need to be good.
That's where it kills me the most.
Other than that, I don't give a rip about the run game. If you're good at offense, you don't have to be good at the run game.
Right. If you look at the run game as investing, because the payoff is going to be the deep shot. But yeah, where the problem is Ohio State goal line. That's where the problem is, which has been a problem for at least 2 years. So I don't know. I just want to see it from Flood. I want to see us in those situations in the red zone to be able to force our will. But as far as like between the 20s, if it can just set up Arch Manning, bomb to DeAndre Moore, I'm good with that.
2008 didn't blow anybody away with the run game, nor 2009, but they got it done in short yardage and red zone, and they were a great offense.
Yeah. All right, we're about to go on to the expanded offensive playbook, but before we do that, let's hear from David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kipling on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
All right, full playbook. Let's read this piece from Eric. Last year, either in the spring game or August, I posted that Sark had most of his playbook at his disposal. I think I said 90%. Now with Arch Manning set to start, according to our sources, this is the first time Sark will have his full playbook since he was at Alabama. The main reason is there is a lot left over from his days in Tuscaloosa when it comes to drop back progression passing. In 2019, Tua started and put up gaudy stats, though he was limited by injury. Mac Jones played in his place for much of the season, was also very productive. In 2020, after beating out Bryce Young for the job, Jones assumed the reins as the starter and tore it up. Ian Boyd will soon tell you what it means to have the full Bama playbook. Good foreshadowing for a Boyd article that's likely coming.
Yep.
So, but wait, there's more. Sark will have new elements that he didn't use in his Bama days to take full advantage of Arch Manning's well-rounded game. This is where Manning's ability to make plays with his legs will create new advantages for Sark. What does this mean for us, Ian? Are we in the promised land?
I hope so.
That was very confident. Lord, please, Lord.
So, let's see here. This is all very delicate. The passing game the last couple of years was, as we've said, predominantly one read shot plays. So Sark would draw up a passing play, and it would not really be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarterback looks at number 1, he looks at number 2, he looks at number 3, he looks at number 4, and he throws to the first one that's open. That's not really how it worked. It would be like guys running around, but they would be running almost what I call distracto routes, where it's like your job is to engender this response from the defense.
Neutralize the safety.
We have one of you in particular that we're actually expecting to get open. And Quinn is going to, he may look somewhere else first, but he's going to look to the guy that he's intending to get open. And then it's going to be open and he's going to throw it, or it's not going to be open. And then Quinn needs to check down. There's usually a check down, or make something happen. And this is partly why. So you could argue this wasn't even entirely Quinn's fault. This is, I think, partly why Quinn had so many plays where he'd drop back and he wasn't there. And then he just kind of look around and like kind of bumble into his own offensive line.
Say run into the back of Banks.
Yeah. This is partly why, because it's like he didn't have another option. He usually had a check down, but sometimes he just got like, I'm in a bad spot. I don't know what to do. I have no options.
Did Sark design that because he thought Quinn was limited in the full field reads, or is that what did he do with Mac Jones? What did Sark do with Mac Jones? Was Mac Jones getting to tertiary reads?
Yeah, I think a few times he was. Most of the time, it was like we're going to draw up something for Devontae Smith,
Correct.
And they're going to be open.
They're going to be open. Yeah,
it's not going to be relevant. They're going to be open, or we're going to hand it to Najee Harris.
Yep.
There was like a couple of games when they played Arkansas, and Arkansas did the flyover.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could not get Smith or Waddle behind them very easily, and they actually threw a lot more progression passing in that game to work their way down the field. Usually it didn't even matter. And Tua could do some of that, but Tua, they gave him all this authority at the line of scrimmage, and they gave him all these RPOs.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would give him authority to like adjust the route on the RPO. So he could like go over and give a signal to the receiver and be like, okay, we're getting this kind of coverage, so run this kind of route. And then they would run the running play, but Tua would know, I've got a guy he's getting this kind of leverage, so he's going to run an out, or he's going to run a slant, and it's going to be open because we can already tell pre-snap it's going to be open. And then he's
Side adjust. Okay, so we didn't go full field passing with Quinn for whatever reason. What do we do with Arch? Is Arch getting to go through progressions? Also, too, right, with full field drop back, right, you want somebody who's comfortable in the pocket because you have to stand there a little bit longer if you are getting to a third read or whatever. And when it comes to pure progression drop back, too, you need a quarterback that ideally can move in the pocket. They don't have to be a runner like Arch, but are big and strong enough in the pocket or have some mobility like a Tua or be big like Mac Jones.
And the big thing is footwork, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like your footwork has to be timed with the drop. So like I noticed even in Quinn's throwing session at the combine, he would pull up quick on his dropbacks and wait and see the receiver before he threw. He could never time his footwork to the routes. And that would kill him in trying to get to the second or third throw. Because if you're a quarterback and you have a great arm like Quinn or whoever else, and you know where you're throwing the ball, it's pretty easy. And if it's like you get to the end of your drop and there it is, and then you just wait and you throw it and that's it, it's moving and repositioning to look and read and throw somewhere else.
Take another hitch.
Maybe doing so a third time when there's pressure all around you. That's basically what separates the wheat from the chaff in quarterback, especially in the NFL. And that's what like Brady and Peyton and Roethlisberger and Rodgers were so good at. That's were so hard. It's being able to position yourself to. So sort of like also like in basketball, you have the guards that have a plan in a move to get to their spot, to get their shot, or to get the pass that they want to throw. And then if they execute their move and it's not there, then it's like, it's over. Or if they get older and their athleticism declines, then they just go off a cliff. Like Allen Iverson or someone like that. Then you have the dudes who are actually responding in time and reading it as they go. Like stupid Mavericks. Luka Doncic does that, obviously.
Don't bring that up, dude.
And he's going to be good at that for a long time because you watch him and it's like he maybe had an inkling that was going to happen, but so much of what he does is he gets to a spot and then he sees something and then he just reacts immediately.
Yeah.
That's like
it's not even about pure speed and athleticism. It's just about reacting to what you're given, and that's what's effective.
Yeah. And that requires some intelligence, some spatial reasoning. You have to have a plan so you can deviate from it. You have to have options and know all those going in. You have to have the footwork and the skill to allow you to react even if you see it.
Anticipation.
And Manning has been groomed for all these things as a kid. So
theoretically, is this the biggest? Sark has the most options he's had, even more than like Mac Jones, because Arch can run.
Yeah, I think so. You're hesitant to say Manning's going to be better than people that were really proved that they were really, really good. But I think Manning could probably be better than Manning may be the most talented quarterback Sark has had in college football. If you think back.
Yeah, I mean, talking about run, pass, short game, deep shot, RPO ability to create. He seems to have the widest set of tools. So you heard it here first, Heisman.
So like Carson Palmer was way up there.
Hmm.
Uh,
Jake Locker. You have Jake Locker. You have
it's Naaman Roberts. Congratulations on being cleansed of leprosy, Naaman. Instinctively athletic is what you're looking for. I don't know if that's quite. There's like a. I guess so. I haven't heard that before. I don't know if that encompasses everything we're trying to get at. It's like
so going back to this, right? If we kind of had some issues with the run game having such breadth that we are not nailing it at everything, and now we introduce Arch Manning, who further expands the playbook, meaning that we're going to have to learn more schematics with a team that's very young, with only one wide receiver in the spring that has returning receptions. DeAndre Moore's injured right now. Is this? I was talking to Paul about yesterday. Does this feel like it's more gearing up for next year? Like you're setting the groundwork here for next?
No. Because think about this: like if you're an opponent and you were playing Texas the last couple of years, the ball is snapped, and then it was like you could kind of tell who was supposed to get the ball if you'd really done your homework. You deny that, and it's over. The teams that could play man coverage, like Georgia, it's just like, we're going to make everything difficult. We're not going to let you run zone beaters to your favorite player. We're just going to put good defenders on everybody, and nothing is going to be that easy, and we'll see if you can do it.
When your first read's not there, we're going to sack you.
And yeah, if your first read's not there, we're destroying your offensive line. I think that your other receivers actually could become better if your quarterback can actually make progressions.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're actually a threat on multiple plays. Because the quarterback's actually going to look at them and potentially throw to them.
And if you take away 1 and 2, there's still a guy there.
You have to be good at it. But I don't think for the receivers, I don't think it can't be that much different than having to draw up a million different shot plays and memorizing them so that you have enough volume every week.
And it's to me, I'm not even worried too about like the Manning side of it. I feel like you could give him an NFL playbook. He's going to get it memorized. It's just how he's been trained. It's just getting the timing with everybody. But also timing's huge. It's crucial. You need it. But also Arch has more comfortability off timing too, meaning that he can create better. So if say it's not perfectly timed up, even though you need to do that when you're getting to a third read, I trust Arch more to work out of the pocket and hit somebody on a shallow coming across the field.
It hurts everybody else if you want to do a ton of 4 and 5 guys out in patterns, and you need hot routes, and you need receivers to be able to tell the quarterback when the corner blitz is coming.
Yeah,
which may or may not have happened for poor Quinn.
Yeah,
and you need your line to be good to be able to block with 5 a lot, and you need your receivers to know when to break off their routes against different deals. So there can be a lot that goes into it, but they can also just run the ball a ton and only have to carry like a few key passing deals and then expand on it the following year.
Cool. Ian, do you remember when Arch was about to take off running at the last minute and he pitched it to Bolden for that touchdown? Who was that, UTSA?
Yeah.
That's instinctively athletic.
No,
That's
that was the week. I think it was like Colorado or whatever.
That was but that, yeah, whenever I saw Arch make that play, I was like, oh, okay. Like that's real spatial awareness there. Like he knows where his guys are. He knows how teams are going to play him and try to attack him, and then it's going to get bold and open. That's what's going to be fun, man. The first couple games of the year are going to be really interesting.
I get it. Like Naaman is nailing exactly what I'm talking about with that. I just don't feel like the term instinctively athletic. That's like your instinct allows you to do something athletic is like the idea.
Ian, you got to understand, Ian as a writer is going to very much key in on the actual term there.
That I feel like that's like so like people would always say if Troy Polamalu, they might call him instinctively athletic, and his teammates would like joke that God told him where the ball was going.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, Troy just had a nose for the ball. You hear this all the time.
Yeah.
They have a high football IQ. They have a nose for the ball. They just have this extra sense.
Yeah.
100 times out of 100, you get that guy in a room and you ask him to describe what he saw on that play, and it turns out that he's just a lot smarter than everybody else.
Correct.
He explains it, and he's like, well, when they do this, I know they're doing this, and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And they're just smart. It's not anything. It's actually literal IQ. It's processing speed.
Jade Barron had that, where you would feel like he was psychic, but really you listen to Jade in interviews, he's obsessed with watching tape. And he's constantly asking his coach, what does this release mean? What does this mean? If I see this, then that.
It's nerd brain in an athletic body.
Yeah. And when you combine those, dangerous, man.
It's the union of nerd and jock.
Yeah.
Into the Ubermensch.
I would say it transcends. It transcends the football field. Okay. Well, I like an offensive playbook expands. There were, clear times where we felt limited in the run game versus the Georgias of the world, Arizona State. And then there were clear times we felt very limited by our passing ability. So if we can get both of those moving, and, Sark's still putting up top 15 offenses with pretty frustrating limitations. So what does Sark look like again once those limitations are minimized or not even there? Let's look at defense. Eric has also given us a look at this. We'll talk dime, but first I want to read this. The coaches feel the defense will be as good as last year, but there's a path to being even better. There's confidence that the secondary and linebackers will play in line with last season, but the strength of the defense and perhaps the team will be the pass rush. Hearing that just a week or two after learning Trey Moore moved to linebacker certainly has my gears turning. How could the pass rush be better than last year? Colin Simmons enters his second year. That alone provides a lift. At linebacker, Hill, Moore, and Brad Spence are all proven pass rushers. Then you have the infusion of
LaFau in there as well.
LaFau as well. Then you have the infusion of Justice Terry, the best interior pass rusher Texas has signed since I don't know when. But just like with the offense, improvement will come schematically too. We will see more dime coverage, which floods the field with athletes who either provide coverage or rush the quarterback. The staff also has a ton of flexibility to move personnel around and bring blitzes from all over. Look at the roster. He names all of our pass rushers. And then you have a handful of DBs with the potential to offer blitz value. I want to see what Jelani McDonald at Star does. Give the pass rush adequate coverage, which should occur the majority of the time, and they will get home more often than not. I'll take that. Sounds good to me. What's dime quickly? And we've covered it on the show before. What's dime? And did we do it a lot last year? And how did it work?
Dime is when you have 6 defensive backs on the field. Nickel is when you have 5. Base is when you have 4.
Mm-hmm.
So base, 2 corners, 2 safeties. Nickel, 2 corners, 2 safeties, and whatever your nickel is. Sometimes he's a third corner. Sometimes he's a third safety, whatever.
Yeah.
Dime.
I was say now you screwed yourself up even more because it's even harder to describe dime.
You have 6. You have 2 corners. You have 2 safeties, and you have 2 extra defensive backs.
Yeah,
and they could come on the field at the expense of a defensive lineman or a linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Like Jade Barron would often take over as our will linebacker in our dime looks.
So last year they played. I called it a 1-4-6. I think it was. Mm-hmm. You could also call it a 4-1-6 in structure. You could also do a 3-2-6 and have 2 inside linebackers still, but play with 3 down linemen. And then instead of having, I outside linebacker edges, you have safeties or corners or whatever. Now, the curious thing here is they're like, we're going to do more dime. Okay, what does that mean? What do you mean more? Like you did it pretty much.
You're going to have more third downs. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, right. You did it anytime the other team was in a long passing situation and you had a leverage, you played dime. So what does it mean you're going to do it more?
That would hint that you would be stopping the run better on early downs to force passing downs. That's what it would mean to play it more.
Or you're going to build a dime package that you play on 1st and 10.
Okay.
So like Todd Orlando base dime. Like if you guys play with 3 receivers and we don't fear your tight end or we don't fear your run game, or we just feel really good about our base dime defense. If you get in a certain package, we're going to play 6 defensive backs on 1st and 10, and we're prepared for you to run the ball, which is not the case with Texas's dime. Texas did not want you to run the dime on them.
Right. That's why it was the 3rd and long, 2nd and long.
We didn't want you to run the ball on the dime last year. It was not built for that. It was just built for covering and chasing. This sounds to me like they want to build a base dime sub package that they can play against like an Oklahoma or another team that is like just more throw or spread.
What would that look like roughly personnel wise if we go through the positions?
That I'm still working on.
Okay. You're still in the lab on this one.
Still in the lab on this one because I don't know how. So if you take Trey Moore and you move him to linebacker, and then it's like, okay, you probably want to run a 3-2-6 because then you have Moore and Hill.
As pass rushers.
3 defensive linemen in front of you and 6 defensive backs. Who's coming off for the dime? You're not taking Colin Simmons off the field, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nansen,
you would take off.
Nansen's dime in Arizona would take Simmons
You're taking off a nose R3 tag.
Or the jack.
But well, this is 1st and 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do need you're going to need run flexibility then.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you could take off the jack. Or like I said, can Burke play like a 4-eye?
He can. But then what do you do with Simmons?
Yeah, can Simmons play a 4-eye?
Or can he play a 5? Are you going to play some Iowa State fronts?
Okay. Yeah. I'd be down with it. I don't want Simmons off the field, dude. I don't want him off the field.
I don't either.
Even in any situation, I want Colin Simmons on the field.
The most natural way to do this, though, would to be like take Simmons off and play Burke and 2 linemen, and then play Hill more behind them, and then probably Taft and McDonald down, and then on the back end, like Derek Williams and whoever the next best safety is.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like you could do the Iowa State 4-eye 0-5 tag.
Yeah.
And then Moore, Hill, and then just a bevy of defensive backs. Just tell the boys, get on the field. We'll sort you out later.
Yeah, I have not seen Nansen do that though, and this is not PK's favorite thing.
Yeah.
PK did run some 3-2-6 whenever they would play Washington in the Apple Cup, whenever they would play Washington State and Mike Leach.
Yeah.
But he played double 4 eyes and a nose.
Okay.
He had a big jack that he would just slide inside to 4-eye. And he didn't have edges that he was like going to weep over having on the bench, like Colin Simmons.
Well, I await your article where you
I was
saw.
going to write it today, but I actually don't know how you do it. I'll just start writing and we'll see what.
That's what you got to figure out. You got to get in it. Freelance Society. Who's going to be a better quarterback, Mateer or Marcel Reed versus Texas this year? I like Reed's receivers that they took Concepcion from NC State. They took Graver from Mississippi State. Who else did they got there? They got rid of what was it? Noah Thomas transferred out. But I like
Not rid of. I don't know. Georgia got him.
yeah, Georgia got him. So I like Reed. I like the weapons around Reed better. Because the running back returned too, right?
Yeah, they got Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, they got him back. It's a second year in a scheme. I think Mateer with Reed's weapons, I would choose Mateer. But I like what Reed has around him more than what Mateer has around him.
Yep.
But Kanik, that's an interesting move, right? Kanik to tight end for OU.
Oh yeah.
I think that could be interesting for them.
Kind of an Andrew Beck kind of deal, except he's not as big as Beck.
Yeah, but he's a good athlete, dude.
He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
To me, that's like one of the more hopeful things OU has done.
Yeah, me too. When I saw that, I was like, that's actually interesting.
We'll see how he is as a blocker, though. We'll see. Like, I kind of think apparently he played a lot of offense in high school and was good at it.
Mhm.
So, like, him translating I could see him being like a Dimitri Flowers, like the sorts of fullbacks they've had that are like decent blockers and like sneaky good receivers, and then they release and slip out and they hit them for passes, and you're not covering them. Your linebackers looking at the run and they just run behind you. I can 100% see Kanik doing that.
How well did he meet blockers when he was playing linebacker?
I don't remember. I'll look at it.
You need to go see, like, how did he handle contact when he was on the opposite side of the ball? Because that's going to tell you what he's going to do at tight end.
Maybe. They'll be as good a clue as we'll find, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're not playing a spring game, right? It's more fast. Yes.
No, I think they're doing fan day and still charging. Where I was like, come on, guys. Is Moore fast enough to play linebacker? I asked Ian this last week. Ian says yes. And I think
100%. But is he instinctively athletic, Naaman? Is he good at seeing blocks develop and getting to the spots he needs to blow up runs as they happen? Because a linebacker is, I'm just using this term, I'm just giving up and using this term for now. We'll try to do better someday later. You need the instinctively athletic nerd jock combo at linebacker. This is why over and over and over again, we've seen guys that were like freak athletes in high school and like 5-star rated linebackers out of high school. And then they come to college and then they're no good.
They don't project.
Like Harold Perkins. It's because everything's happening so fast in the box and they can't see it and react fast because they don't know where they're going before the snap. They have to figure it out in those instants of the actual play, and they can't.
And it neutralizes their ability, which is their athleticism.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, there was a question above.
Where?
From Nate from Freelance Society about which Zen product I use.
No.
How does that? I don't use Zen. How does it work? What is it? It's a
pouch. It's a nicotine pouch, and you put it in your upper lip, and then it releases it. But it's not a tobacco product. It's just a nicotine product.
So you don't chew it?
No. It's just a pouch that you rest along your gum line.
Why? Why is that the way that you?
It's a nicotine delivery system.
I get that, but why is that a way that people love to take in nicotine?
Because it doesn't have the carcinogens associated with tobacco. So like dip versus just taking nicotine.
Okay, but why is it something like? Why is it like not like a gum or something that you can like chew?
Well, they have nicotine gum. It's just a preference.
Well, why do people prefer to stick it up there? Because they're giving up chew and they like having something there. Or?
I think. I don't know. They just enjoy it that way. I think Zen can be a little bit more intense too. There's different milligram strengths, but I don't know, man. I quit that gosh darn tobacco a year ago now.
Nice.
But I went to. It was dip. I picked it up in high school baseball, trying to look cool, and then I was dipping for like 15 years, and then I did Zens to transition off, and so I did like higher milligram to lower milligram, and then eventually was able to quit. So yeah, I think there's probably a part of it that's similar to that, but you can do gum. I mean, it's just
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. Please make a reel Yeah, and also everyone, do not do Zens, do not do dip, do not do anything. If you
Why,
can.
why not do Zen? What's wrong with Zen?
Zen's not as bad because it's just nicotine, and nicotine's not necessarily the problem, right? It's an addictive chemical like a caffeine, but
So coffee.
yeah, I was gonna say the problem's truly not Zen, and if you're having to choose, if you already are addicted to something, you should try to transition onto Zen.
Isn't it an appetite suppressant too, which is basically what Ozempic
I
is?
can guarantee it is, dude, because as soon as I quit dipping and zenning, I gained like 60 pounds. So I can guarantee you that it makes a huge difference in that regard.
Hmm.
But it also increased my anxiety through the roof. And so that's been interesting too. I've been able to sleep a lot better since I've been off of it. And then, of course, you don't have that constant kind of nagging like every hour of like, there's like this anticipatory, like
Okay.
I would have been stressing out halfway through our lives that I like needed to get back to it. So
That
the
doesn't
psychological freedom of it has been great.
That doesn't sound good. Everybody stay
Stay
free,
away.
stay free from addictive chemicals when possible. But
Yep.
there are lesser evils. All right, what was that other pay one that we should actually address?
I thought it was cool that Georgia had basically 3 DCs running their defense. What will having PK, Akina, and Nansen mean in terms of defensive cohesion?
Well, I think Georgia had one DC running their defense and then 2 DC qualified people offering smart input.
Mhm.
Kirby Smart runs their defense and makes sure that it works good. And then they happen to have Glenn Schumann, right? And Will Muschamp are the other 2.
Mhm.
But what makes it work is that the vision and the structure comes from Smart. It's all those other 2 guys just contribute like ideas, but no, I know AR's like that's what I meant. The thing that's trickier with Texas is that I don't know if there's one guy that's as much in charge. It seems like PK likes being collaborative, and he likes saying, "I'm going to do this up front, and if y'all can do this, that'd be great. But tell me what works for you guys," which can be great or not great depending on how well the room meshes and things collaborate and stuff. I think,
But that's different than Smart, who's saying, here's the scheme, and then I want you guys to weaponize and find wrinkles within it, versus PK that's like, hey, Patterson, we can do quarters, or hey, Nansen, we can do match 3. Like he's much more open to change big parts of it.
So the suspicion is it feels to me like Nansen is more and more involved.
Yeah.
Especially with like being in charge of the back end and tying it up to the front. Like last year they were running PK's match 3 coverage, but they weren't even running it until Nansen came in and was like, let's do this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Nansen came in and PK was like, hey, glad you're here, Johnny. Here's what we're actually going to change this year. And it doesn't think that's how it worked. And Nansen tried to hire Aquino when he came last time. So it worked pretty well last time. It should be fine with Aquino because he's already worked with Nansen. But it's not obvious to me who's actually in charge of it all,
Finally, and took you a while to get to your shadow coordinator theory.
Well, but I mean, PK does a lot, and he contributes a lot, and he works well with other people. But then it just always makes it hard where you're like, how much is PK and how much is some other person like Jimmy Lake or now Nansen. So
yeah, but it's like, I think
especially if they're running more dime, that's like a
PK success to me is found in the aggregate. So it's like, well, was it PK or Lake? And it's like, you can make that argument. And then you're like, is it PK or Patterson? You can make that argument. And you can say, is it PK or Nansen? You can make that argument. But when you pull back, the common denominator here is PK's there. So it's that thing, it's that arc in Boise State that shows me that it's PK is the main factor here. That, or you're just getting a historic run of shadow coordinators that you've nailed time after time after time,
No, I don't think shadow coordinators, and I think he calls plays, but I don't. He gives or allows people to take a lot of power. Is what it seems like.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Which is, I guess, to your point, it's like, is Texas going to get the same thing from having Akina, Nansen, and PK? Seems like yes. It seems like PK manages to make it work with other people a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that flexibility, I think, and that lack of ego is impressive too, man, because you easily just want to hold on. This is mine.
it's not
But-
the same thing though as Georgia. Like Will Muschamp could come to Texas and tell all those guys what to do and would.
Yeah.
And we don't really know on Schumann. He might be like that too. And Kirby Smart is absolutely like that. So it's not quite. It's more like you have three guys that are really good in different facets. Like an Akina is an awful overall defensive coordinator. Every time he gets Peter principled into defensive coordinator somewhere, everything goes straight to hell. It's happened at Texas like twice.
Yeah.
Happened at Arizona last year. But
Yeah.
he's a genius on developing back end guys. And PK, I think, is better as a top level guy than Akina. But he seems to have a similar, like, he's happiest and best when he's like coaching up guys up front. So it's not quite the same. But I think it's probably going to work super well.
So do I. All right, guys, I got to shoot a basketball show at 10:45 because SEC tournament's about to start.
Oh, man.
So hopefully Texas can get the win versus Vanderbilt. Not looking great for the Longhorns in basketball, but we will, for you basketball heads, we will have a show coming out here shortly. We want to make sure that you guys are getting content as well. Ian, thank you for your insights as always. Chat, I thought you guys had a lot of great insights as well. You guys are smart. Until next time, guys, this show was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Later, y'all.